So this I'm about to cue this video, but set it up for me, right? Set it up. What was the occasion, for lack of a better way to say it, so that everybody will know why you're there and what you're talking about?
So context is, you know, there's this global, this national conversation about Confederate monuments and all these monuments to white supremacy. Well, in Baton Rouge, we have a high school named Robert E. Lee, or Lee High School, and every street in the area is named after a Confederate general. Lee High School is on Lee Drive. It runs into Stewart, Ross, Pickett, White. There's even a street named Whitehaven, literally, a haven for white folks. And this school board member, Connie Bernard, was sitting there while we were discussing the need to change the name of the school, and she was shopping. I noticed she was shopping, recorded that she was shopping. I also know that Connie lies, and so I made sure to record it, and then what you see take place in the video as
well. Okay, so that's a great setup. Everybody, watch this.
I had intended to get up here and talk about how racist Robert E. Lee was, but I'm gonna talk about you, Connie. Sitting over there shopping while we talking about Robert E. Lee. This is a picture of you shopping while we talking about racism and history in this country. Only white members of this board got up while we were up here talking too, because you don't give a damn.
First of all, here for everything you just said, and everybody watching, we just showed you a small clip of the video. If you haven't seen it, you have to watch the whole video. Gary Chambers, let me tell you something, man. You got her soul together.
I thank the ancestors, brother.
Brother, first, I'm going to say something to you that may unsettle your equilibrium. Can I do that for a second?
Go ahead.
When I watched the video, obviously getting Connie together was just joy. But I started listening to you. I started listening to your voice on the lower frequencies. And you have a gift. You have a gift. And you have a gift for oratory. And you really need to invest in that gift. The world would listen to you if you put that gift out there as much as you possibly can. I know, that's why I asked you what you were doing before. I don't care what you've been doing before, Gary, but you need to lean into that gift. Are you receiving this?
I receive it. I receive it.
Don't make
and
me
I have much. Go ahead.
No, you go.
I have much to say, you know, because I believe that, you know, I'm from the worst place in America, in my opinion. Louisiana ranks number 50 in the nation. We were the mass incarceration capital of the world, right? Not America, the world. We jail more people, and now we're number 2 in the world. We just jail more people than everybody else except for Oklahoma, all right? And considering that, and considering the history of our people, that Black folks were brought here in chains and bondage, but within 3 years of liberating from slavery, that people like PBS Pinchback and Oscar Dunn and all of these folks would be elected, and then Jim Crow laws would be set in place to stop us from having forward progress. But that Black girl magic and that Black boy joy has continued to permeate up out of us against this. And so I'm excited to be in this moment and have this opportunity to share with you and all of the folks in our community around this country, because I believe that there is something waking up in Black America that has been asleep for a long time.
But you know what, Gary? You know, Gary, I don't mean to cut you off. We'll get to Black America, but I'm talking about you, because there's something that's been asleep in you, and it's waking up, and that's what I want to celebrate. I want to celebrate the fact that you are coming in to your moment, and you're coming into to what I believe now. Who am I, right? We just met. But I know these things. I'm telling you, it takes one to know one. And I'm telling you, you got something special. And what's amazing about the video, when you tell Connie to go home, I'm telling you, it's amazing. But one of my favorite parts of the video is you address one of the Black board members, and you say the man's name, whatever his name is, and you say this. You say, so-and-so, I hear you a good man. Then be good then be a good man then. Woo!
The superintendent of schools here is who I was talking to.
Talk to me about that.
So Warren Drake is actually a white man, and he is the superintendent of schools here in Baton Rouge, which is the 81% Black school district. And Mr. Drake had been silent on this matter. And before I spoke, what you didn't see was a brother named Cleve Dunn got up and spoke directly to Mr. Drake and laid in on him, because so many of us, he was a principal here, he was a teacher here, and eventually became a superintendent. And when you see Black folks in this community standing up and speaking up, well, if you're a good man, be one now. Show us in this moment that you're a good man. Don't wait till tomorrow to tell us you're a good man. Show us in this moment where your convictions lie. Where is your heart to the people that are standing before you? And if you have a heart towards people, if you are who you say you are, this is when you show us. You know,
Gary Chambers, I love you.
I love you back, brother.
Man,
back.
The world needs to hear you, sir. I'm telling you, that little formulation you just did, it is so complex. I'm a moral philosopher. This is what I do. What you just did is so complex and so intricate, but you're able to reduce it down to something so accessible. If you're a good man, then be a good man right now. If you were here, I'd slap you with this paper. That's how good that was. Man, that's good. And I love the notion, because here's why I love it. I love it because you challenged him. You challenged him to rise up to the moment. Woo! You challenged him to summon his better angels. And I'm a firm believer that you can reach people and you can challenge people. See, most people challenge people and they say, well, if you don't do what I want you to do, I'm gonna knock the hell out of you, right? Mm-hmm. But what you did was you said, I know there's something better in you. Now get up there and get it.
So for me, and I've been both. I've been the person who came with the hammer for every nail and said, I fight you like hell if I got to. But I also understand that there are moments when that conviction can rise up in you. When you recognize that a person is there and they can recognize a moment, and sometimes you just need somebody to say, this is that moment, right? This is the time for you to show us who you are. And I think that this is a time for white America to show us who they are, right? That if you are not who your ancestors were, if you are not who those people were before, then show us now. Because we've seen enough George, we've seen enough Lamar Johnson, we've seen enough Sandra Bland's and Breonna Taylor's. You don't need to take, we've been watching it since Emmett Till to now. And so the question is, when do we say enough is enough? And I shout out all of the millions of white folks who screaming Black Lives Matter, but I need you to show up in city council meetings and tell your representatives that Black Lives Matter. I need you to show up at your school board meeting when they deciding on a moral document, which is a budget, and tell the people writing the budget to make sure you don't line item veto us out of the budget. I need you to make sure that when there's an investment in a school, that you don't give me $16 million for the school in the Black neighborhood and $50 million for the school in the white neighborhood, and then tell me that my life matters, dollars need to matter too.
So wait a minute.
I'm sorry. I went
No. I'm gonna be your uncle tonight. Did you say you found out you were an activist in the newspaper? Let me tell you something. That's a lie. You were an activist in your mama's. It was written, son. It was written. I'm telling you, man, you have come into it. I'm excited about talking to you because I think the world is about to discover you beyond a viral video, because there's substance to you. And you have this very rare ability, to communicate and challenge people, but in a way where you don't shut them down. I loved how you challenged Connie. And what was remarkable, and tell me what you think about this, is that why do you think she got up and left?
So multiple things. I think guilt made her leave, So what you couldn't see on camera was Connie turned her computer around to me. And that's why I got the picture. Because you sitting here gonna lie, I knew she was gonna lie to me. Okay, that's the pattern and practice of these folks, to lie when you called out. But it's hard to it's hard to kick against the prick, right? Is what they say in the church. It's hard to kick against the wall. That's and so when somebody is standing in your face with the truth, it's hard to stand up against the truth with that lie. And so since then, she's been lying all over press releases, but you can't lie to my face now. Not with me standing right here with this proof.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are, Doc. Let me tell you something, man. I'm here. I'm here for all this. Why do you think white people, or a certain segment of the white culture, finds it so difficult to understand why Confederate names and Confederate monuments and memorials and statues are problematic? Why don't they understand that?
They understand very well. We need to stop giving them a pass that they don't understand that this is racist. The truth is, most of these monuments were not put up. Most of these monuments were not put up until the 1950s or the 1960s. And when they were put up in the 1950s or 60s, they were put up as intimidation tools against us as Black people, right? And they're aware of that. That's why they named these streets. Lee High School was actually supposed to be named South Downs High, which was to name it after a plantation. But then they decided to change it to Lehigh right before they opened the school because they wanted to be very clear that this was to represent their ancestor and a warrior that was in their ancestors to tell you that we represent them too. And so I don't think that anybody's naive about what it is. I think that they want that version of the South to continue. They want that version of America to continue. But I got news for you. We ain't sleep, we ain't taking it, and we're not gonna tolerate it standing. And if you only gonna tell your story, well, that's a problem because you took my dollars to build the monument, and so you didn't build no monuments to my ancestors. And so that was deliberate, it was intentional. And if you put up a monument to all the governors of the Confederacy, but none of the Black governors and none of the Black legislatures, that was intentional. And so because you were intentional in doing it, I got to be intentional in telling you that it ain't gonna stand.
Gary Chambers, everybody. Got to take a break. He'll be right back. He ain't done. Bye, Connie.
You're going to want to buckle your seatbelts for this.
Yes. Fox Soul presents Chatter.
Tonight, we have a man who was a Ku Klux Klan member.
5 women of faith, keeping it real.
Today, you hated us. You know, in that role, you hated us, but now you love us.
My personal motto is, if it is not justice for all, it is not justice at all.
Yes. Yeah.
I love it.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm talking to activist extraordinaire, Mr. Gary Chambers, whose viral video when he confronted Ms. Bernard in Baton Rouge has just taken the world by storm. We showed a little bit in the program early on. We've been talking about it, and just that. We've been talking about Gary, his life and future, but also about, you know, the interconnectedness between white supremacy and the deep schisms and problems that come along with the American experience. So Gary, let me ask you this, man. Here's a practical question. Did they change the name of the school?
So yes, they voted that night unanimously, including Connie, to change the name of Lee High School. And so there is a renaming committee that is meeting now. It is a majority Black committee, as I understand, and they have gotten thousands of names. I personally support the name PBS Pinchback. He was the first Black governor in America and the governor of Louisiana in the same time period of Reconstruction. And I think that brother has not gotten his story told. And so it is my mission that the world, I think there should be documentaries and movies about PBS Pinchback and Oscar Dunn because they were the first to do, you know, any of these folks in the 20th and 21st century.
No, that's wonderful. Well, look, after you got through with them, there was really no way in hell they could justify not doing, you know, exactly what it was you asked them to do, and that was the power. See, there's a certain moral authority that video showed, and that's what's drawn me to you tonight, is that you have in the patterns and in the rhythms of your speech and how you think. There's a moral authority there. It's not self-righteousness. You avoid that successfully, but there is a moral authority. And I'm telling you, that is the key to having spiritual, political, and cultural success. And you got that. So talk to me about Chambers for Change.
So I ran for office last year and lost terribly, right? And it's in part because I was out here raising hell all over the city. And when you do that, that is not always seen in the light that the country sees it in today. But we are transitioning at this point to launch a new nonprofit called New Black Leaders. I want to go all over the Deep South and all over the country, helping teach folks how to be engaged civically. The lessons that I've learned there's a Gary Chambers in communities all over this country, somebody who's annoying the hell out of elected officials on a regular basis, but maybe they don't have the spotlight or the attention to their issues. And I want to help shine that light with this new platform. But I also want to talk about building a new Black South. I think that 55% of Black people live in the Deep South. There was a great migration in the early 1900s where Black people fled the South from the tyranny of racism. I think it's time for us to come home and begin to take over the Electoral College of the Deep South and elect Black governors and lieutenant governors and secretaries of states and mayors all over the place, because we don't know what a Black Mecca looks like until we build one. And I'm committed to doing the work of trying to build one in the future.
No, I love that. I absolutely. And I pray you well on that. You know, it's interesting. I found out recently, one of the ways that Stacey Abrams, of course, you know who Stacey Abrams is, and from Georgia. And I found out recently that she was able to ascend in Georgia politics in a similar way of what you're saying. What she did was she went around to rural communities. She stayed out of the city. She did her work in the rural communities, back where Black folks and poor white folks were still living and working and loving on the land. And she organized them and became their champion and told them and convinced and white, who when she got to the city, she just amassed more folks, and she would have won if the present governor of Georgia had not messed with the votes and with the election. But I hear you working on a similar thing. Does that sound comparable? Do I have this right?
I think that there are some elements of similarity. I think that Stacey's work was for the electorate. Mine is for us to be active all across the board, whether it is your Parks and Recreation Commission, whether it is your library board, right? How do libraries get built in our community? There's a library board typically who votes on it with your tax dollars and builds libraries. Well, if the nice library is downtown and not in your neighborhood, the question is why? And how do you begin to have those conversations in an effective way to advocate for your community? Too many Black neighborhoods don't have civic associations anymore. We don't have active folks in the PTA at our school. My daughter goes to one of the top performing schools in Baton Rouge. One of the keys to that school performing well is we have a hellified PTA. We raise $50,000, $60,000 a year that then is poured back into the school during the summer as investment. We've got to get people involved on the local level at the very grassroots level. And then I think we will begin to see block by block, brick by brick, Black communities change. And when we focus in on our issues at that very minute level, I think that we'll see the revolution begin to speed itself up, because all politics is local.
Yeah, no, I get it. And I think, as you said, the similarities are there. But what I hear you doing that's different, encouraging Black folks to return to civic engagement across the board, to no longer advocate the idea that we are citizens. We have a responsibility to be involved and to drive the conversation in this country at the level of where we live. That's a powerful invitation, sir.
Yes, sir. I think that we've got to decide that, you know, they may have labeled us 3/5 a person, but we don't have to be that today. They may have told us that we didn't have full rights, but if I stand up in my full rights and demand that you treat me like a full citizen, you know, you may not want to, but you will. You may not like it, but you're going to do it. Because if enough of us show up, you can't shun us all.
Yeah.
You know, you can't blacklist us all.
Yeah.